Welcome to Kim and Angela Talk. Kim is a biodynamic craniosacral therapist, PSYCH-K facilitator, curious human, forever student, and a loving mum. Angela is a Reiki master, PSYCH-K facilitator, metaphysical nerd, compulsive learner, and childless cat lady. Come along for the ride as they explore the mysteries of the universe and their own lives, all while enjoying a good laugh together.
Hi, I'm Angela.
And I'm Kim.
And together we're Kim and Angela Talk. And today we have our lovely friend, Clare Gray, with us.
Yay.
Hi, lovely ladies.
Hello. Hi, how are we all today?
Amazing.
Doing well. How about you?
I have to say I'm doing pretty great, actually, surprisingly.
That's a thumbs up.
Well, yeah. I mean, no, I guess it's not really surprising because I have, of course, as always, been doing a lot of work with myself. Had really amazing sessions with clients this past week, which is always very invigorating. But also, I feel personally, my own work has been very, very profound this week. And what's really interesting is it really ties into the message I got today. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into that because, why not? One of the things we're really talking about today is about that it's a real time for healing with everything going on in the collective. A lot of people are feeling very lost, very scared, very hurt. It's a lot of people are afraid to speak up because of retribution from others. And I'm really hearing this from a lot of different sources. And even though I can't watch the news because it's too much for me, I catch a little bit here and there, but I've been hearing a lot from other people, and it's pretty scary right now. And the message I got today was from my sacred geometry deck, and it's the throat chakra. Sorry, there's a little bit of a glare on there. And the message was being completely honest and authentic in your expression. And our throat chakra supports our self-expression and our sense of peace and balance. And it's linked to our ability to express our needs and desires. And one of the things that has been coming up a lot for me has been, actually over the past 6 months, has been a lot of throat chakra healing, healing around my self-expression, healing around my ability to communicate my needs. I had to do a lot of work on that before we even started this podcast, started this recording. I had to do a lot of work on being seen. And this past week in particular has been very profound because a lot of things from my childhood have been coming up in my healing sessions. I had a really incredible somatic bodywork session about, say last Wednesday, which tapped into deep childhood trauma from abuse, but also the response I received from my mother about that abuse and the not feeling like I was being heard or that anything I said mattered. And so I really had to stuff down everything. I had to stuff the trauma down in order to survive. And that's harmful, because as we know, the energy of trauma is stored in our bodies. It causes distortions. It impacts our healing, how we express ourselves in the world. Especially when you have a lot of trauma that is stored in your body, you then tend to dissociate. And when you have physical or sexual trauma, that's another way, another means of enforcing this dissociation between your mind and your body, like not being able to really be embodied in yourself. And the path to awakening enlightenment is often, some people like Eckhart Tolle, like he has a meditation, a body-centered meditation. And when we did BCST together, a lot of that healing work was about being embodied. And I'm finding that even after all the years of working on myself and working on my own healing, I'm still very dissociated from my body. And part of that too, I think, is a lot of the chronic pain that I experience over my adulthood. And that also contributes to this want to be dissociated. And the throat chakra, when I've been healing this, like I've a pain and pressure keep coming up a lot in my throat chakra, and I'm realizing that this is because for so much of my life I have not been able to speak my truth, or I have not been heard. The things that I've said have not been valued or taken honestly, that people will continue, and most women experience this, where what we're saying doesn't count. What we're saying isn't being given any sort of value in this world. That we get paid less than men. We talked about this actually not too long ago, about how there was a focus group or study not too long ago where they had focus groups, and the group of men were like asked, what scares you about women? And they're like, oh, we're afraid they'll make fun of us. And the group of women were asked, well, what scares you about men? And they're like, well, we're afraid they'll kill us. And what does that bring up? But if women talk back, if women stand up for themselves in our culture, historically in our culture, if we show any sort of power, any power that comes from our self-expression of being who we are often harmed or killed in some way. We're put down, we're put in our place. And so this is collective trauma that we have as women, and individual trauma as well. And I know most people who've had any kind of childhood abuse will have experienced not being heard, being scared into not speaking speaking aloud, like telling people what they experienced, being told that like, I'll kill you if you tell anybody, I'll kill your family if you tell anybody. So what are we taught so much as children, especially as little girls or as women? When we experience these things, we're told to shut up. We're told to hold that inside for our own safety. And so these are the things that I've been coming to terms with over the past week. It's real fun. And another theme of what we've been talking about recently is different ways of healing. Claire, you and I have talked about this recently, about using, and we all have really, of using these different modalities, because the somatic bodywork session I had really kind of unlocked a few things. I had cleared all my accessible trapped emotions in my heart wall. And I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And I was feeling a lot better, right? But I've been finding, as I've been doing more work on my physical body as well, more things are coming up, more things that have been stored have been coming up. So after this last bodywork session, 3 trapped emotions that had not been accessible came up, and I was able to release those. But then after 2 days after that, on Friday, I had a session with my Reiki master, my first teacher, Melinda Carr from reikijoy.org. And she's amazing. She's just beautiful. And you walk into her presence, it's like you're just surrounded by love, like you're just being hugged, by pure love. And so I had a Reiki session with her, and it was really intense. And I released a lot on the table. And afterwards, I came back to my office fully with the intention to kind of chill out and stuff. But I was like, well, I'm going to see what's come up for me. 27 new trapped emotions were made accessible by this Reiki session to be released, all of which from a specific period of time in my childhood, like 6 and 7 years old, where I was experiencing something that was not good. And also, which in turn to this throat chakra thing, when I tried to talk about this, tried to tell someone what was going on, I was not believed. And I was basically shut down and had to store all this stuff and hold this stuff inside and be quiet in order to survive, really. So yeah, it's been a pretty intense week because of all this healing work, and there's actually more trapped emotions that were made accessible to because of this Reiki session, but they weren't, 27 apparently was enough for that session. It's like, okay, you're good for today. And I tell you, it was an intense session. Like, before, when I was doing trapped emotions, like, sometimes I might get a little sad or teary, feel the emotion, but like I was like full on crying during the release of these. It was more like releasing heart wall stuff, but these weren't heart wall emotions. And so I was like, oh, and it's probably good today to continue on with that stuff. I was like, not before the podcast. I'll wait till later. Because it's just, it's like I wanted my throat chakra to be good, but like, it's good enough right now. We can save the tears for afterwards, when I don't care if I look like shit. So yeah, it's like it's been a really intense week for me, and this message that came up and like the theme of this really being a time for healing, like personal healing and collective healing, is like so pertinent for me right now, especially being, doing this work and living in the States and knowing what's going on, and the fact that like so many of my friends and family are immigrants to this country. My mom is an immigrant, my brother's wife is an immigrant. My boyfriend's an immigrant, and he's Iranian too. So like I'm just waiting for the Gestapo to show up at our door to take him away, because they've, like, I guess, enacted the same thing that they used to put Japanese citizens into concentration camps, during World War II. So good times ahead for us here and globally, I'm sure. And so, yeah, this is definitely a time that we all need to focus on our healing, and because we're going to need all the strength we can muster in the times ahead, for sure. It seems like, I mean, that's true kind of always, but like right now more than ever, there needs to be, a real focus on light and bringing forth the light into our world, because that's what's really also going to give us strength to persevere over the next few years. So yeah, not to start the podcast on a total downer. Childhood trauma.
But it's healing it though. So that's the highlights, the healing part, right?
It is about the healing, and the thing is that I do feel great today, and I do feel great because I've been doing this work on myself. And it's hard. It's not always easy. This journey, the healing, doing yourself, your self-healing and working with others, because that's the other thing. You should, like, yeah, I do all these modalities, or like do modalities myself. Like I've now 3 different modalities because I just got certified in the emotion code. But like, I still go see other people, and we do exchanges amongst us and our friends, because like working with somebody else is really, helpful, because oftentimes you need somebody else to hold that space for you, so that things can really come up, to feel seen and to like be witnessed by somebody who can hold space for you is extremely powerful. So yeah, I can do a lot of stuff on my own, but like it's so much more powerful when I work with somebody else. And it just goes also to show that there's multiple ways to healing, and sometimes you need different approaches, different ways to do this work and to get where you need to go. And it is a journey, definitely a journey.
And it is notoriously difficult to work on yourself.
Yeah.
Especially when what the root problem is could be traumatic. It's like your subconscious is going to work overtime to protect yourself. And it's like, no, we're not going to show you that bit. And it would take an outsider to then go down to those deep hidden areas. So yeah, we all work on each other, because then we get to level up each time to a much bigger degree than if we just worked on ourselves. But you pointed on something that's really important, those hidden aspects of ourselves. And that's what I've been working on a lot recently. And you sort of brought it to my attention, that normally if it's hidden for a reason, and you just leave it alone until your subconscious is ready to release that. But if you ask it a question like, are you ready to release these hidden aspects, these hidden trapped emotions or hidden traumas? And usually it's no, that's why it's hidden. And then you get to ask, well, why? Why are you hidden? Why are you not ready to release it? And then you start releasing the things that are keeping it hidden. So you can unearth some really traumatic issues from your past lives, childhood, generational issues. And then when you've cleared all, it could be a complete belief system. And then when you've cleared that, it's like, are you ready to release it now? It's like, yes. And all of a sudden, those things that were hidden aren't hidden anymore. It's like, we feel safe. We feel safe to be seen, and we feel safe to be released. And then it's simple. And then the shift is really dramatic. It's wonderful to experience, and it's wonderful to be able to do that for other people. It's like, yeah, this is what you've been buried, and it's now, it doesn't exist anymore. It's left.
Yeah. And also recognizing it's like your subconscious and your soul gets to recognize you're not that little girl anymore. You're not that you're, you've come into your power and you're ready to own your power, so you can be present for yourself now, and you can be present for yourself as you were when that trauma happened. Like, didn't we actually talk about that, actually going into surrogation for yourself at the age where the trauma happened, Claire?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's fascinating, because I mean, there is a school of thought that you can ask your subconscious, especially if it's a past life, well, just ask your subconscious what happened in the past life. To me, that's like trying to talk to somebody on the other side of the world with a bad cell phone connection. There's interference on the line. If you got on a plane and you flew to where that person was, and you're in front of them and you're talking face to face, the information you get is more accurate. There isn't that filter of time and space in between the two people. So yeah, I always go into surrogation for that person at that point in time, whether it's childhood, 10 years ago, or a past life. And the person you're working with will feel that energetic shift. It's amazing. And then you bring them back to present time, and then you check everything again.
Yeah. Yeah, that is powerful, because I had never thought of doing that before, but I'm totally going to start doing that. Yeah. I still have to do that for myself when I'm going back to deal with a lot of the childhood stuff that happened. But I have to say, it's a little scary. Maybe that's something we can work on together, because I mean, there's definitely reasons why. And I actually don't remember a lot of my childhood. Any good memories I have generally don't involve any adults. They're basically when I was just running around with my friends. So I don't really have a lot of memories. Like, I knew things that happened, but the memories are not there, and there's definitely stuff that I've blocked out on purpose. So yeah, it's not something I really want to go into, and probably why I've been avoiding doing that for myself. But yeah, so that'll be a future exchange for us.
Absolutely. And yes, it's scary, because it's like there's this fear around it, and you've kind of got to jump that chasm and think, how peaceful am I going to feel on the other side?
Yeah.
But then work on what's creating the fear, working it in chunks. Let's work on why I don't really want to go there first, and then create that safe space to be able to do the work.
Yeah. Well, it's like what we do in BCST, right? We like titrate it in. You don't go poof and then here it all is. It's like you do a little bit and then a little bit and a little bit. And then by the time you get there, then it's not such a kaboom. It's more gentle.
Yeah, you can actually handle the release
Mhm.
instead of like feeling overwhelmed by it or even
Or
being
re-traumatized by it.
yeah, just gonna say thanks, you owe me a beer. Re-traumatized by it. Because that's the thing is like some things are just so powerful. I mean, that's why your body stores this stuff, you weren't able to deal with the trauma at the time. And so your body's like, you've stored this in your system and maybe you were okay for, 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. Like I was very high functioning. I was a high functioning stoner. I was a high functioning person with, now it's called complex post-traumatic stress disorder or something like that. Because like when I was in my car accident when I was 16, nobody ever said to me PTSD, that like, oh, that might have been traumatized you and you're going to have issues because of that. It's like, that wasn't, that was only like for people who were in war, which is, or had those kind of like really extreme experiences. And even then, I don't think that was really that mainstream back then because it was in, I don't remember, I was 16 years old. So it was a really, really long time ago. And just the fact that this is how you deal with it, and yeah, it can be high functioning, but it takes its toll. It takes its toll over time. It's like there's a reason I've had chronic pain my entire life, and that's because of, especially in its adult, it's because of the traumas, physical and emotional traumas that I've had over the years, especially in my childhood and adolescence. And so, and then, sometimes people will like, again, be high functioning, but they'll be like high functioning alcoholics or high functioning in a different lane where like work will be their addiction. Like in my mother's case, work was her addiction. Yeah, she had to work to pay the bills and everything, but it was also a way for her to not deal with her own trauma.
Right.
Which of course she passed on to me and my brother in various ways, both by just the epigenetics of it, but because of her behaviors and also her unwillingness to really see what was going on around her, and her just inability to control her own actions and her own responses. And so, and I've talked in the past about, forgiving her, and every thing I do seems to come up with new things that I have to forgive her for. But it's not about saying what she did was okay, or that like, the things that happened when I was little were okay. It's about not letting them have power in the present and not affecting me in the present. And that's why I'm releasing this trauma. That's why I'm doing this work, so that I can actualize myself as the person that I want to be, and not be defined by my past and not be defined by the trauma that I experienced. Good times.
Good times. Yeah. But how amazing though to get that out, like our bodies are so amazing and our brains are so amazing at doing what it needs to do to protect us. Right. It's astounding, really. And I mean, even compensations for when we have something that hurts, and it compensates to redirect and whatever. So it's nice to give it a break and say, okay, gotcha. And then start to release stuff off. And I'm sure it's like, I have space now. There's more space in there now. So, it's a good thing. Yeah. Physically, mentally, spiritually, it's a good thing. So,
and that forgiveness aspect of the healing is so profound, and sometimes the most difficult thing that we have to do. And forgiving someone doesn't necessarily mean that you go and give them a hug and say, let's be friends again. That could be, no, I forgive you because it's the best gift that I can give myself. I choose not to have a connection with you. But I know a friend of mine once said to me, forgiveness is like climbing up a very steep mountain. Every step is grueling and tired, but when you get to the top, the view is amazing. And that peace that you feel when you reach the top of that mountain, that you've been able to release everything. And it takes a lot less energy to love someone than it does to hate somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say I have gotten to the point where I can have more compassion for my mother and have that compassionate love for her that's more neutral, more like Kuan Yin style, as opposed to like, like, I love my mom. She was great. No, no, but I can have that compassionate love for her damage, for her soul, and like I recognize the damage that she experienced as a child. I mean, because like both of my parents had really shit childhoods and lots of trauma, and hers was pretty bad. Um, Growing up in Italy after World War II and the abuse that she suffered was pretty significant. So it doesn't make what she did right, the fact that she didn't deal with her own healing right, but and then what, the experiences that my brother and I had doesn't make any of that right. But I can forgive her mostly because I can recognize that she did do the best that she could. And she did love us in her way as much as she was able to. She wasn't able to really protect us totally, but she did her best. And it doesn't mean that, I mean, I will never have a really good relationship, like the kind of relationship I would like to have with her, because she still is, she's not there where I can have it. And I don't know that I'm there. And I don't know if I'll be there before she dies, because she's, not in great health at this time. But yeah, it's hard. But I really love that saying, that idea, Claire. It's grueling, but when you can get to the top and see it, the view is amazing, because like then it's like you're not having to have all of these like damaging thoughts or about this other person that really damage you. It damages you more than it damages somebody else, to like continually condemn somebody for what they may have done to you. um that really hurts you more than anything, because like as we know too, like having the negative thought patterns lowers our vibrational energy, contributes to like the continuation of our own expression of like the trauma that we experience. So yeah, being able to forgive them, again, not saying that what they did was right or anything, but being able to like let that stuff go so that it's not having control or power in your life as you are now is so important, and it's so freeing. And when you can do that, it's just like you experience this lightness of being, and the more you progress on this path, the lighter and lighter you get.
Mm-hmm. So there's one thing that I use when I'm doing forgiveness stuff, and I don't know if you've tried this with your mom, is to find a message of why you had that relationship. So obviously your two souls had a contract. Yes, Angela, I'm going to be your mom and I'm going to teach you A, B, and C. And then to have that deep understanding of what that reason is, what you were meant to learn or what she was meant to learn from the relationship, can give you a huge insight, and then makes it easier for you to have that compassion.
Yeah.
So I did this with my mom because I had an issue with my mom as well. So I found a message as I was trying to focus on that forgiveness. I found a message that it was about my power. She was intimidated by my power, although I never felt it. Like I never felt I had any power. So she was keeping me in that box, keeping my power away from me. So keeping me isolated from anyone else, not allowing me to speak, not allowing me to, excuse me, have the life I was supposed to live. And I got to the point where it's like, I deserve a life. I'm not going to be your companion for the rest of your life. I got this purpose that I have to fulfill. And then when I understand that she was trying to take my power away from me because of her own insecurities, it made total sense. And that was all part and parcel of me curing my allergies that I'd had for 55 years. It was that reclaiming my power and that forgiveness of that person that was trying to take my power away. So I don't know if you've ever received a message regarding your relationship with your mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we had a lot of past life stuff where we were basically playing out the same scenario over and over. It was a soul contract. It actually came up in a session I did with Sam. And it was basically lifetime after lifetime. She was either my mother or my older sister, but I had to be the one taking care of her when she was supposed to be the one taking care of me. And apparently it was about learning to deal with the density of the energy density within myself. And I've learned that lesson, and the karma between us has been healed. So next lifetime, I will not, and I'm not going to say I should not or hope not, I will not be repeating the same pattern with her, because I am done. I'm so done with this pattern with her. Because I've learned about dealing with density, and I feel like a lot of that was, going through my process of first, because when I was a little girl, I was like an old woman in a little girl's body in a lot of ways. Like my favorite people were like the old ladies on the street, like those little Andes. I don't know if you guys ever had those little chocolate Andes mints, I don't like mint chocolate, but like I love those only because of the memory I have with these old ladies that I would go visit. And they loved it because here's this little girl coming to hang out with them, and they probably didn't get a lot of visitors from their own children and stuff. But then they lived across the street. I'd go over, because I mean, really, it was like the one time I feel like in my life that those were the only real memories of adults that I had that are pleasant, because it was these women gave to me something that I wasn't really getting at home, and which was just unconditional love
And chocolate.
in chocolate.
Let's get down to the really nitty gritty here. It's chocolate.
And those little weird,
those
those chalky pillow mints, like they're really kind of weird, but I love them only because of the association with these old ladies, right?
Well, I would have crossed the road for mints, so chocolate mints. So.
Me too.
Yeah, but the fact is that now I kind of lost my train of thought, but
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But I carried this density, and through my journey, went kind of like just had my childhood in the 90s where I was like, fuck this shit. And I partied and I drank and I smoked and I had a lot of fun in the 90s. I mean, that was my decade, hence the flannel. and it was a great time to be in Olympia, I have to say. It was like, just a lot of fun. But and I kind of continued on with that until I got to a point I was like, okay, I'm done now. I've had my childhood in my 20s, and now I really need to be the adult, be the person that I'm supposed to be. And that's when I started actualizing myself as who I really wanted was, right about my Saturn return, oddly enough, where I was like, okay, it's enough with this, drinking and smoking, and let's get back in touch with our spirituality and kind of cut it with the partying and stuff, which is, kind of miss those days sometimes, but this is better. I have to say the high is better when you're on this like spiritual quest high, as opposed to just being reliant on substances. As fun as that was, there's a time and a place for everything, and it's in your 20s, in college, or after college, in my case, for a long time. Good times.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fun.
So anyway, that's my message.
Well, that's your message. One thing I just wanted to add to the forgiveness thing is also removing the charge to that, whatever that was, and removing the charge, so that then in the rest of your life, then you're no longer activated by things that maybe were charged by things in the past. So that's a great thing to just, it not only affects just the past and how we think about it, but then it also affects as we go forward, not attracting that because that charge has been released. So we're not attracting the same kind of message or whatever, that maybe you can't speak or you can't be heard or you can't be seen, so that lessens as well. So then it just makes going forward easier and interacting in life easier than bringing all those things with you. So,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
And this is the thing, you're still going to have that memory. This work doesn't obliterate the memory, but there's no charge connected to that memory. It's the same memory as it would be going to the grocery store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's a lot better.
Mhm.
A lot better. For
Especially
sure.
down the cake aisle.
Yeah. Yeah. Cake aisle,
Cake.
cheese aisle, yeah. Chocolate aisle. So many good aisles. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been eating a lot of chocolate after with all this healing stuff.
Dopamine, right? Isn't that what it's all about?
It's just
Maybe?
so serotonin, dopamine, I don't know,
Oh, good.
whatever. Good
All
stuff.
good.
Good stuff.
Exactly. Need a
Yeah,
little bit of pampering.
yeah.
sure.
I mean, just the fact that we're doing this podcast is a testament to a lot of the work that we've both been doing. We've all been doing. It's like, oh, I'm letting myself be seen. I'm letting myself be heard. I'm speaking my authentic truth.
Mhm.
Because this is stuff I never would talk about before.
Mhm.
I mean, I really stuffed this stuff down like
Yeah.
deeply. I wouldn't talk to therapists about this. Like my mom took me to after my car accident when I was 16. I think I mentioned this actually, took me to a psychiatrist, and then the psychiatrist was like, "You're the one who needs help." But like I didn't say a word because it's like, why am I going to tell this dude, this old white dude, this shit that happened to me? I was like, how is he going to understand? It's like, I'm not going to talk about this stuff to him. So yeah, just the fact that I can talk about this stuff and like I'm not, bawling is a testament
Yeah.
to like this healing work, and also the forgiveness, the letting go, the fact that I still actually talk to my mom. I didn't for different periods of times. I wouldn't talk to her because she's just kind of like a toxic cesspool really for a lot of my life. And she's, now that she's in her like 80 years old, it's a little bit easier to deal with her.
Mhm.
And like I said, doing the emotion code with her has shifted things in her as well. So like she's actually showing some self-awareness. But it's also, and I just do it when it's convenient. It's not a priority for me. It's not something I can feel compelled to do. It's actually something I do out of that feeling of compassionate love, not because I feel like I should or I need to. It's just for me now, it's like a gift that I give to her.
Mhm.
Because honestly, I'd rather do that than go visit her in North Carolina.
Right. Right.
Oh, yeah, fun.
It's all moving in a good direction.
Yeah.
That's good. Very good. Very, very good.
Yes.
Yeah, the generational thing when you're working with the emotion code and body code and belief code is amazing because you're working on yourself, but when it's an inherited issue, you get to clear it from that generational line. And if some of those generations are still alive, they get to feel that shift. So you are giving them a gift. And I know when they come up, when I'm working with a client and I'm imagining and I'm just releasing everything, I just picture them in my mind, just holding hands with all those generations as that trauma then gets released and also gets released from future generations as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I love about the emotion code thing. And actually, and with Reiki, because I've had generational healing and Reiki sessions as well. It's like, you're healing this stuff from like the people you inherited it from, your ancestors. But like say with I'm grateful when any inherited trapped emotions come up for me, because I know like not only is it being healed through my mom or dad, whoever I got it from, but it's being healed from my brother and his kids and like their potential children if they choose to have them in the future. And I was like, oh, what a nice gift for them, especially since they would never probably want to do this work with me. They're not open to this kind of stuff. So, or at least my brother, I don't know, his kids are still minor. So, but yeah, I love that aspect of it. And then when you're working with a client too, like, it doesn't happen all the time, but once when I was working with someone who was First Peoples, and it was a lot of generations back because of the continual trauma of as a group that they experienced, I really felt their presence. It was like my office was so crowded,
Wow.
And it was like profound in a way where it was like I don't know, it was like next level.
Mm.
And I loved it, you know, and I was like, I felt really honored to be doing that work for him and that be a part of that healing. It was like, it's like, I don't know, it really gets to you. And like, it's just such a gift. It's a like, yes, it's a gift to them, but it's also a gift to you as the person who the practitioner, you know, that you get to be a part of this healing for someone else, part of their journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, I love it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
an honor for sure. I agreed.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my message. Kim, Claire,
All right.
it's your
Well,
turn now.
Well, Claire, do you want to go next for a message?
It's got to lead directly to one of you guys's. Come on.
So I was looking for a message. So every night, my husband and I do a coaching session. So it's a coaching session. A very, very dear friend of ours just passed away at the end of February. He was one of those big personalities that just spent his life doing good for other people. He built an orphanage in Guatemala. His whole life was about helping people and doing good. And now he gets to do bigger things because he's on the other side. But we get a message from him every night. And it's like the part of the evening we really look forward to. We finish with watching television just before we go to bed, and we connect to that energy that was him, and we ask if he has a message. So this particular message was from the Healing Waters Oracle, which I absolutely love. And I will always muscle test to see where the message is. Is it in one of the cards or is it in the book? 99% of the time for me, it's always in the book. So I just muscle test to find the page, the paragraph, the sentence. So I never go to a deck of cards and go, oh yeah, that's my latest favorite. Let me take the cards out and shuffle them. That's the old way of doing it. Now I ask, which is the deck? And I go that way. So this particular time last night, it was the message is best expressed in one of the cards. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. That never shows up. And I actually had to shuffle the cards. So I'm shuffling the cards, and this particular card kept showing up, and it's just got instructions on it. It's kind of like a joker card that you get in a regular pack of cards. And it's like, oh, why's that there? Okay. So I took it out and just left it on the coffee table, and I carried on shuffling. And I shuffled and I shuffled and I shuffle until one jumps out of the pack. And that's me going, okay, I know that's definitely the card I want. And I shuffled and I shuffled and nothing was moving. And then all of a sudden I looked at the coffee table and I thought, maybe I have to put that card back in the deck. Maybe it's not giving me a message because it's not a complete deck. So I put that card back in, and I shuffled for about another 10 seconds and the card jumped out. And it just happened to be that card.
Oh no.
It's like, okay, so Spirit has a way of showing you what your message is. And when I read the message, it was all about becoming attuned to what you're working on. So I created a new belief that I am now attuned and aligned with my soul's purpose. And I created that new belief, and the energy around it was mind-blowing.
Nice.
And it was like, wow. And the thing is, some of the messages aren't in the cards, they're in the instruction part of the book. I've had that show up several times. So it's amazing. And the other thing, I was working with a friend this week, and we were connecting to our friend in spirit, and we'd got a couple of messages. And I said, I always finish the session as, are we now complete for the day? Because I don't want to leave any little threads untied. So I said, yes, we are not finished for the day. There's some more work you still need to do. So I said, do we need to find another message? Yes. Is it a message related to what we've been dealing with, which was all about love and romantic attachments for him? It's like, no. And then I said, oh, is it a message from our friend? And he was a mutual friend. Yes. So is the message in my office? Yes. Is it in a book? No. Is it in a deck of oracle cards? No. And I thought, okay, maybe I muscle tested him incorrectly. Let me check that again. So I asked again, wasn't in a book? wasn't a deck of oracle cards. And it's like, well, where else can it be in the office? And I just looked in the office and it's like, is it on a wooden box? So I've got a couple of wooden boxes with sayings on. So I went and grabbed them, turned them upside down so he couldn't see. And I said, is the message in that box or that box? So he muscle tested for the one box. And the message was dream big. So I said, do we need to create a new belief around this? No, this was just a message. This was just an FYI. And I said, your friend is just telling you to dream big. And he just lost it. He burst into tears and he said, it is something that he would have told me. And I said, I think the message is from all of us, like dream big. That's what he did all his life. Everything he did was massive. Like, who wants to do good and decide, I am going to build an orphanage? Not I'm just going to donate to help children. No, I'm going to build an orphanage. It's going to be big. So his message to all of us was dream big. And have the confidence just to see that through and just align with your life's purpose. And it gives you shivers.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't necessarily like to see a grown man in his 60s burst into tears, but in that moment, you could tell how much that resonated with him and how much it touched his heart, which is, it's lovely.
Yeah,
makes this work worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. That's totally awesome.
Woohoo. Love that.
And you guys know I love getting messages because I have a slight library.
Just a few decks.
Just a few decks.
Just a couple.
I know the woman I had an in-person session yesterday for Reiki was like, oh, you have so many Oracle decks. I was like, you should see my friend's Clare's collection. She's got, just a few more. 3 times as many. So many.
But you have to.
Yeah.
Because to get accurate messages,
yeah. Well, I mean, it does
to have a lot of resources.
It does allow the spirit to speak more precisely, I'm going to say, with the messages, right?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting too, because like sometimes like the things you get are just like so, well, I'd say actually all the time the things you get are so on point, and sometimes the deck that comes up, you're like, no,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, okay.
And then you're like,
message, and you're like, okay, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like because of that, she picked it. We did a draw for her and it was like so on point. Exactly what we had just been talking about. So sorry, Claire.
It can be spooky. This is one of my new ones, the Yuletide Tarot. And I've got some amazing messages, but they always seem to come up for me when I'm getting a message for myself. And so I keep moving where it is in my piles. So I muscle test. So I have 18 piles and I just muscle test which pile. So I will move it just in case my conscious mind is trying to direct me to that card deck. And it's like it still keeps coming up. And the one that I got the other day was the last line of it. This card is telling you and reaching out from the world into the world of others with either a proposal or a vision for a new project or endeavor. And as you guys know, there is something that I'm still working on and trying to get it out of that hidden realm. That's part of my soul's journey. So a lot of my messages are coming up with, dream big.
Nice.
Put this new proposal together.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Can we segue into my message related to the dream big thing? I think it fits perfectly in with that. And talking about decks that come out that you have a particular liking to, I'm going to say it's opposite day for me. There's so many I would love to show up, and it's always not those ones. And it's one behind something. And it's like, really? And it's like, yep, but there it is. So conscious mind would like to be picking other decks, but it just doesn't happen for me anyway. So my message today is one that we've spoken about over the past couple of days with our little chit chats that we've had, and it's come up a third time for me and for the group today. And it is from this deck, which seems to be my deck of unconscious, subconscious choice, which is Angels and Ancestors Oracle
That's
card.
a great deck, though, I have to say. I
It
love
is
that.
a beautiful deck. It is
Mhm.
definitely, and I love, for me, even the backs of the cards, I love because my lovely owl on there, which I absolutely love, which, as you can tell, I have a few owls around. So yeah, so the card that came up along the lines of Dream Big is this one, which is Stargazer. Is that right? It is? Yes,
Yes.
Stargazer. So it's set your sights higher. So the message was just the message of the card, which is go beyond your limitations and believe that the impossible is possible. So that resonates for me on a large scale. Again, talking, I think, with Claire and Angela as well, we've had these kind of like big ideas or potential like calling in of big ideas to make big changes and big differences that haven't been done before or done differently, because we all have these, visions of what clients and things look like, but feeling, or for me anyway, personally feeling that it can be done in a different way and a more beneficial way and an easier way, because why does life have to be hard? And still kind of opening up to that, surrendering to that idea, which a surrender card came up for me last night or the night before. And really about, because I think what happens is we get really busy in the brain and we're like, okay, I got to figure it out, whatever. And then you're like, well, that doesn't work, or that won't work, or you step in and get in your own way, whatever. But really opening up to thinking, and did some balances for that as far as the impossible being possible and dreaming as big as you can, like the other message that you gave. Yeah, and I'm confident. I think that's what I'm feeling more settled in, that it's going to come, whatever that is. I'm not quite sure what it is, but that it's going to birth forth, and just really kind of waiting for signs and more messages and what have you, and just allow whatever healing needs to be done for the collective, for us personally, and just really opening up to that coming forth into material world, what that looks like. So I'm excited. I don't even know about what, but I'm excited. So we'll just wait and see, keep trucking.
Well, and the thing that's interesting about that too is, like, so many times in order to open up to those bigger possibilities, you have to do a lot of your personal work first.
Mhm.
And then, and it's not like you have to be completely healed or perfect or whatever to then do that, but you, through your personal work and your personal journey, then the path opens up before you.
Mhm.
Those possibilities widen, and your vision goes from being very narrow to like survival mode, really, to being so much more open, and
Mhm.
like, oh, these are the possibilities, this is what I can bring in and bring forth into the world. This is the what I can share of myself and my journey and my light. But you have to go through that process first. You can't do that from a place of hurt, because when you're operating from a place of hurt, that's the only thing that you can really express most of the time. But when you are on this path, when you're working on your healing journey and you're like releasing all this stuff, everything starts to slowly at first, but then it kind of goes more and more, where things just open up for you. And then you can dream bigger. You can, like, see a bigger picture for yourself and for the people around you, and what you want to bring to the world.
Mhm.
And it actually kind of goes into the message for the audience, funnily enough.
Woohoo.
So the message from the audience was from my Tree of Life Oracle deck. And this is, I don't know, you see the 27th path of justice here. And also it's really connected to what's going on in the world today. And the 22nd path on the Tree of Life is justice, adjustment, and it's a karmic adjustment, balance, and objectivity. And the specific message was balancing your heart against a feather to determine your entry into the afterlife and experiencing the consequences of your actions, which I think says a lot about what's going on collectively for us. And one of the things I liked about this card was like Mot, the Egyptian god Mot, was like, well, would say, will anyone miss thee by thy passing?
Mhm.
And as we know, like you were talking about your friend Dan, he left a huge hole, like you desperately miss him, but you also are still in connection with his spirit. So like it
Mhm.
eases that. But like, so he is definitely someone whose karma and his actions in this world like made an incredibly beautiful and beneficial impact. And that's really, I mean, isn't that what we all kind of aspire to, would want to have, like when we are gone, from this physical form, that the people we leave behind are like, remember the good things that we did, the positive things about us. And also from this message is like, you are creating situations that are giving you the chance to balance what is out of kilter in your life and to do it with an honest appraisal of your part any situation. You are in human form, so you will err. But the important part of that is recognizing that and then making amends or going forward from that part. It's like, yes, we're going to make mistakes, but what do we do to correct those mistakes? What do we do then to go forward and to be our best selves? And it's like, ultimately you are responsible. You're responsible for yourself and your actions, and you're responsible for the story that you leave behind, which also really connects to our last podcast. It says the justice card points toward the consequences of your actions. So in this time, this collective time of unrest, what's going on geopolitically and in the States, which is so difficult for so many of us to really wrap our heads around and to like experience the energy of, this really is a time of healing, because each one of us individually has to be working on our own healing ourselves, but also healing our relationship to the collective and to this the energy that's being put out there. But it's also going to be constant. I think, I'm afraid, for years it's going to be a struggle. And then the people who are creating this distress and this dis-ease in the world, eventually, yeah, they are going to be held accountable for their actions and the things that they're doing in this world and the impact that they're having. There will be, we don't get to determine that as human beings, but there will be an implication for them at some point in this next lifetime. So collectively, and for those listening to us, think of yourself. You're not responsible for the entire world. You're responsible for yourself, and you're responsible for your own actions. And so look at that and look to your own healing and really the impact of what you're doing amongst those around you, rather than putting the weight of the world on your shoulders, because you can only do what's right in front of you. And yes, some people are going to have a much wider impact, positive impact, like your friend Clare. And and some people are really, their impact is going to be right in their immediate world. But any good that you do in this world, any of your own healing is going to be exponential and will radiate out from you, because there's the Lao Tzu saying, the greatest gift you can give is that of your own transformation. And that's what we're doing. And that's really that healing. If you can transform yourself into a higher being, a higher vibrational energy, to going from a place of negativity and putting out negative things, or just darker thoughts, or dark, like just being consumed by your past traumas. If you can transform that within yourself and transform those like that shadow self into more of a light being, and you don't have to be Mahatma Gandhi, or Mother Teresa, or whatever, you just have to be every day, try to be a little bit more of your light being, like show a little bit more of your light every day. That in and of itself is so powerful. You don't have to, move mountains. You can just move pebbles, and
Mhm.
each pebble that you move is going to be a positive benefit, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you.
I mean, Angela, I think that is such a powerful message. And there's going to be so many people out there listening to this that will go, well, what can I do to make that change? I think every one of us wants that moment when we step beyond the veil to hope that their life has made a difference. But while we're in our mortal body, you're going, well, who am I? What can I do to help? But even one person can make a difference. When you let go of the trauma and the limiting beliefs and the anger and resentment that you feel, it raises your vibration, as you mentioned, to the point where you're going to go into your local Starbucks with a different vibration around you, with a smile on your face, and people pick up on that. You pass someone in the street and you smile, and that smile will change their day. And it seems so simple, but it works that way. So one person healing themselves can have this ripple effect where it actually does make a difference. So I have two boxes on my bookcase here. So one of them was Dream Big, and the other one says courage is taking those first steps to your dream, even if you can't see the path ahead. And I think if we just invite people just to step into that courage, even if you can't see the path ahead, just start your healing journey. Just let that stuff go and embrace healing, embrace love, joy, compassion, and gratitude. And it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. It's funny, right along the lines of just small things, meaning a huge thing. I shared with you the little example, I think last time I spoke with Angela, to do with, it was a Mother's Day. And this goes back to when my eldest ones were like 2 months old, carriage, running around. I was in Costco and trying to put together, because my mom was coming, my mother-in-law was coming, and my grandmother was still with us. And so I was just running around getting stuff for probably a barbecue at the time, and stressed, and the little ones were fussing and whatever. And so I wasn't even thinking myself, Mother's Day. I was just thinking everybody else. And this gentleman, older gentleman, just was passing me as I was kind of going to the cash with the carriage, and I think my grandmother might have had the other basket, whatever. And he just looked at me, looked at the little one I had in the carriage, and said, just very calmly, very slowly, Happy Mother's Day to you. And it still makes me so emotional now. And that was like bazillions of years ago. That little thing stuck with me so much because he took the time to just say it to me, because I wasn't even seeing me. Like I wasn't, it was everybody else's Mother's Day. But, so just small things like that have such an impact. And I've had the experience on the other end of sharing a story of kind of something that I did, which was not that I'd recommend it, but doing the how do you say it? Not parasailing, but paragliding, when you like kind of jump off of a mountain. Anyway, crazy time. And I did it, and I said, like, everyone who would have known me, I would have been probably like in my 30s at the time. And everyone I would have gone to school with who would have known me up until that point probably would have bet if they had $1 million that I would definitely not do that. And myself inclusive. It would have been a really pretty sure bet. But I did it. And it was kind of one of those moments where, do I do it or do I don't do it? And I'll regret it probably if I don't, even though I really don't want to do it. And I did it. And so I shared this with a woman many years after the fact. And you never know what a story is going to inspire in someone. And the next thing I know, she came back to me and said that she did this charity jump where she did a bungee jump. And it wasn't just a bungee jump, but it was a naked bungee jump. But it was all for charity. And she's like, well, if Kim could do that, then so could I. And I mean, she was an older lady. I think she might have even been older than me. And it's just, I don't know if that's a good impact or a bad impact, but you know what I mean? Like, so you just never know what your words, what you're sharing, what it can mean, and the ripple, just like the pebble in the pond, and it just spreads out. And a kind word, or like you said, a smile to someone who's maybe not having a great day, or you, Angela, have mentioned speaking to a cashier who doesn't seem to be in, and, you know, eventually having them laugh, you know, with you in the moment, which then help the next customer maybe coming through, who, you know what I mean? Like, so impacts are so strong, even with just small little gestures, when we just take a moment to see who's in front of us and to just have an authentic moment of humanity, of sharing, you know, where you're at. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, just being kind. That's
Yeah.
all you really have to do is be kind in the world. You know, recognize that the people around you are actual human beings with thoughts and emotions in their own lives. That's all it really takes. So you don't have to, you know, you don't have to move mountains. Like I said, you don't have to like be the person who saves the world. You know, that happens just by being kind every day in your life to those around you.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, you never know, that person, like the person working at the cash might go home and be kinder to their family too, and then that have a positive effect. And like, it just, you know, like I said, it's a ripple thing. So sorry, Claire, go ahead.
Yeah. And the kindness can just be a smile, or I'll send an invitation out to all of your listeners to, next time you're in a coffee shop, buy a $5 or a $10 gift card and give it to the barista and say, give it to the next person in line.
Yeah.
And you know that if you've been drawn to do that, the next person in line is going to need that, and it's going to make a difference for them. And it's not the monetary value, it's the fact that someone has done something kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the energy of it is so much more palpable, you know, than like, you know, $5, whatever. But it's like, wow, it's just like that impact just of feeling good about something, and then it just spreads out from them. Yay.
Yay.
Times, good times.
Good times, good times.
So are we feeling complete with our messages and our podcast, or?
I think so.
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty good that this is a good stopping spot. So again, my name is Angela, and my website is thisreikilife.com. And
my name is Kim, and my website is keycranio.com. And
my name is Claire, and my website is claregray.life.
Yay.
And we just thank you all for joining us and sticking with us through to the end. And please like and subscribe below, because I'm pretty sure it's mandatory that we say that at the end of every podcast on YouTube. Yeah, it's like they come and take away your little card if you don't. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and be kind to other people, but more importantly, be kind to yourself. I feel like that's where really healing starts, is being kind to yourself. And yeah,
smile inwardly and outwardly.
Yes.
And thank you, Claire, today for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Claire. This is amazing. Our very first special guest star. Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you. I always love getting together with you, beautiful ladies. It's been an honor.
Yes, this was great. I love this. So thank you all, and for listening and stuff. And thank you, Claire and Kim. And just have a great, wonderful day.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Kim and Angela talk. Please like and subscribe below. To book sessions with Kim, visit keycranio.com. To book sessions with Angela, visit thisreikilife.com. Thank you.